Hello, this is John Steele, Original Animal, and right at the moment you're listening to Collision on Voice FM.
It's such an honour to get to speak to you. You haven't stopped. I mean, you have not slowed down for one moment.
In this year we've already done 40 gigs. I just got home yesterday from 2 weeks in Sweden, and I was only home for 2 days before that. We had 5 weeks in Germany, so we're off to a really busy start this year. But what the hell, it's better than working for a living.
Definitely. Well, can I ask, because you guys were a band before you got Eric into the band, which was when you started, getting your hits. You actually only had 3 albums, but you made a massive impact on that.
I know, yeah. Actually, it all started with Eric Burden and me when we first met on our first day at art school in Newcastle. We were 15-year-old school dropouts in 1956, and that's about when we formed our first band. And under different names with different personnel, it evolved into what became the Animals at the back end of 1963. And then suddenly it was a roller coaster. That was when the Beatles were kicking the door down all over the world and and got the whole thing rolling. So from the end of 1963 to within a few months, we had a world number 1 hit with House of the Rising Sun all over the world. So it happened pretty fast once we got to that point.
It's got to be one of the most covered songs of all time.
I guess it must be, and somehow we managed to record what seems to be the definitive version of it. It's the one that was an outstanding song in all sorts of ways. And it seems to, so many people all over the world where we do a bit of meet and greet after a show or something like that, and so many times somebody will say, "That was the first song I ever learned on my very first guitar."
I was going to say that actually. I've got an interview with an Australian band on the show this week, and they commented, "That was the first song we learnt to play."
Yes. Well, there's thousands of them all over the place.
How does it feel to know that?
It feels great. I mean, we didn't really realise how significant it was at the time we recorded it, but because it's just an old folk song, and we kind of just recorded it as an electric band, with the way we felt about it, and without realising it, we created the first kind of folk rock electric crossover song,
Yeah.
Plus, we also hadn't thought about it at the time, but we broke the old restriction of 2.5-3 minute singles that seemed to be set in stone as far as radio plays was concerned. We suddenly realised that it was a 4.5 minute long song, and it was a breakthrough in all sorts of ways. In fact, we met up with Bob Dylan. It was on Bob Dylan's very first album, and that was purely acoustic folk, And we loved his stuff. By the time we got to meet him, he had about 3 albums under his belt, and we got out with him in New York and went on a pub crawl around Greenwich Village. And he told us that he was driving along and he heard our version of House of the Rising Sun on his car radio. And he pulled over and stopped the car and kind of had an electric light moment. And that's when we met him, he'd just been in the studio recording his first electric rock, folk rock songs,
Oh,
and he had like a Rolling Stone came out very shortly afterwards. So it's had a big impact all around, that song.
Yeah. Well, can I ask, like you said before, it all happened so quickly, and really it didn't last that long. It was only probably 4 or 5 years that you were, putting your albums out. Do you remember a lot of it? Was it a whirlwind? Do you wish you could sort of slow it down a little and enjoy more of it now?
Well, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it now in a different way. But then, I mean, we were young, raring to go, and everything was a new experience in a way, I mean, up until that point, we were just 4 working class Geordies from Newcastle in the northeast of England, provincial, but we hadn't realised at the time, but there was groups of us all over the country, popping up, who were all doing the same thing, listening to the same influences, and coming up with some version of the R&B music of that time that we all loved rock, and especially, the Beatles sort of kind of led the way in breaking out from the local place into the wider world. They knocked all the doors down everywhere. It was a very exciting time, and like I say, working class lads from Newcastle in those days didn't fly off to America in a big jet plane and play in New York and Times Square, you know. It was unimaginable a couple of years before then, you know. And then all of a sudden there was what they call the British invasion, and then we sort of broke out, you know.
Well, I was going to ask actually, because you had 9 songs in the Australian top 50, and some of them are, you know, classics that have been going around my whole life, like We Got to Get Out of This Place and Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood and things like that. But did you ever actually make it to Australia as a band to tour?
Not the original band, no. I believe Eric, after the original band broke up, Eric formed a thing called Eric Burden and the New Animals. And I think they played Australia in the late 60s. That would have been 68 or something like that, 68, 69. But no, the original Animals never got to Australia. I wish we had. When I finally did get to Australia, I was very taken with the place. I think I would have moved there and settled down.
So have you played in Australia?
Only since about the late 90s when I first got there, 97 and 98, and then once or twice since, I think. But not earlier than that. And, you know, when I finally did get to Australia, I really, really enjoyed the place there. We're looking forward to getting over there again in the spring. Well, it's your autumn, isn't it? Your fall. But we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah, is it fall yet? I don't know. It still feels like summer. It's really hot here at the moment.
That's it.
We'll keep it warm.
I'll just come back from 2 weeks in Sweden. You can imagine what that's like in February.
Well, with this tour then, like you're going to hit New Zealand before you come to Australia.
Yeah, Christchurch. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be there on the 3rd of March, and then you're Auckland on the 4th, and then Saturday you hit Australia at the Gold Coast on the 6th, and you're playing all over the East Coast. Where are you in Melbourne? Looking for Melbourne. Oh, there we are, the Palms at Crown on the 12th of March. And all the tickets and dates and everything are at metropolistouring.com/the animals. What do you want to tell people most about your shows and what you're looking forward to coming and performing for them?
Well, the show is built around, you know, the hits you mentioned. There's about 10, 11 hits that were big all over the world. Obviously, House of Rising Sun, We Got to Get Out of This Place, It's My Life, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. Those kind of, that's the core of the show, obviously. Everybody wants to hear those songs. And then we've got a whole bag of numbers that are from B-sides or album tracks, that kind of thing that we can sort of pick and mix from, you know, so that pretty much every night's slightly different apart from those, handful of numbers, those 10 numbers or so that are, well, we've got to do them, you know, because people would be going, well, what about Misunderstood? What about, you know? Yeah. But then we, as I say, we shuffle around with some of our other stuff, which keeps us fresh, you know. So we don't make a complete set list. We leave it to our frontman Danny Handley, who's a brilliant singer, a brilliant lead guitarist, and he just call out a song out of the blue, and we'll just say, "Oh yeah, I want to do that." So it keeps it kind of fresh, and we're never kind of in a rut, you know.
Yeah. Well, there is you, of course, John Steele and Mick Gallagher from the original lineup coming. Do the four of you make for just as wild a show as was happening in the 60s? Because you were famous for your wild show then.
Well, you know, it's a different time in our lives. Danny Handley, he lives life to the full. He's the front man, he's the lead singer and a brilliant guitarist. His friend on bass is it's a guy from New York who joined us about a year ago. But Roberto Ruiz is the bass man, and he's Danny's wingman on the road.
All right.
Nick and me kind of we're elder statesmen, you know. We'll party up to a point, you know, but now we'll say, night, boys, we'll go to bed now.
Yeah, but I guess to the show, it kind of depends on the energy of the audiences, and the Australian audiences not only love your music, but they're just full of energy for these type of shows too. So I'm sure it's going to be a pretty wild experience for you.
Oh yeah, and you know, we don't backpedal. It's still a very, very in-your-face band. There's loads of energy there, and we all love doing it, and there's still a fluidity in it as well, because if something's going great, we'll extend solos. If we want to do a particular number that we haven't done for a while, we'll throw that in the pot. So it's always lively. It's not like a sort of cabaret act. We just, seat of the pants some of the times, because half the time we don't know what some of the numbers are going to be in the set. We know we're going to do that 10 or 11 numbers of hit singles, but the rest of the time we'll just sort of mix them about, so it keeps everything fresh.
So people can follow you up and down the East Coast, and then they may get to see a lot of your catalogue.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to see the same show every night, no.
So definitely, because you have got quite a lot of shows coming up. People can actually find you at facebook.com/The Animals Music, and they can give you a like and keep up with what you guys are up to.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much for your time. It has been great talking to you. Is there something that you wanted to say that I didn't ask or you didn't get a chance?
Well, it's been nice talking to you, Kat, and we're all, we're really looking forward to it. I love working in Australia. It's always a good time, so the hospitality's great. It's a friendly place, and we're looking forward to it. That's all I can say.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you at Crown. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing experience to see those shows live.
Good. Look forward to that, then. Thanks for talking, Kat.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.